engine.
The engine of contribution. Okay, here it goes. So, things I want to talk to you about. I don't know if it's useful to have a show and tell section where we sort of talk about the things that we've seen and discovered throughout the internet, because I'm sure that we smack into things here, there, and everywhere. I got a couple of fun things to talk about there. I want to talk about dynamic tooling a bit more, some of the issues that I had, and I got a little bit of a demo for you, provided it deploys.
Yeah.
And a bit of a chat about the future. I got a design for how we would have solved the oil and gas recon in today's world, and a bit of a philosophical chat about MCP and how it solves that explosion of connections problem.
Mate, we're probably a few years late for the solving of the oil and gas issue.
No, buddy. No, we're not. It's still a problem, and it's still like a thing all over town.
Yet.
No.
Really?
Well, how would you solve it?
Well, we tried 6-7 years ago and didn't.
It's still a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Still a problem. So, yeah, those are my things. How do you wanna do this?
Well,
show and tell.
Show and tell. Yeah.
Show and tell. Okay. Let me just fire up the old What's Flap. Hopefully I don't have anything in here that I can't be showing on permanent internet time.
Find out soon enough.
Laddie. You'll find out. You'll find out.
Oh, I like that link that you sent over with the OSS comparison. That's pretty sweet website.
I did not realize, that oh, that's right. Yeah, there is something in here that I can't show. Can you tell me when is my mouse over this thing? Did you download it?
No,
No, you didn't, did you? Because you took your sweet time, and now I have to delete it, because if I expose the link, then...
I can do it now. Give me 2 seconds. Hold on.
You're too slow, mate. You're too slow. I'll send it again.
Wait.
Can you...
Well, delete if you want. Well, it's not going. You're not posting up until afterwards. Which one is it?
This true. Oh, this is just ridiculous. I hate the internet.
Yeah, no, shit.
How do I... Goddamn Oh, this is so annoying. You know what?
Okay,
you know what? Fuck it. What I'm gonna do is you're gonna download it, and then I'm gonna delete the link itself from the source before I post it, and then I don't have to worry about any of this. This stupid. All right, have you got the link? You downloaded
it? It says I have. I've not confirmed it. I just clicked it, and it said complete. So.
All right, cool. So I'll delete it from here, and then I'll delete it from the actual place where it came from. Okay, here we go. Cursor sys prompts. They're actually not that complicated. So that was fun.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I looked through that yesterday afternoon, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. But it's really not that much, right? But then there was also this guy who was talking about how the Claude code prompt, he'd taken it out and it actually assembles itself dynamically, or is assembled dynamically. So that was something we butted heads on, you and I. So sorry about that. It turns out that is actually feasible once the models get good enough.
Yep.
So that's how Claude code works.
I would expect your apology in writing, of course, but that would do for now.
Well, I don't. You want me to write in VR? Is that what you're after?
No. Just choose your best fountain pen.
Choose your media. Okay. Fine, I gotta write it on your forehead. So yeah, I mean, turns out that the different providers have different actual benchmark quality settings. So I don't know why that is exactly. Has it a guess? I mean, shit.
I was looking at this. And I was wondering what the baseline is. The
I think Amazon is the
measuring
worst.
against. Yeah, but is it all just relative baselines?
What do you mean?
Or is there like some kind of baseline that they expect and measure everything else?
Well,
from?
yeah, like that. Well, there's the model's reported baseline, and then there's kind
Right.
of what everyone else gets. So I don't know how you can end up with different values. I think what happens is these guys make their own optimizations to the model to make it run on their hardware specifically, and that has some impact on the quality of the inference that results.
That's
But
possible.
Amazon's got no excuse. Like, that's just awful. But the one I really wanted to call out to you was these guys. Did you see this little graphic that they got? So they actually do. Oh, I don't need pricing. Sorry. Well, this was all about the actual token rate of OSS 120p. So Grok is clocking 500. Grok with a Q is clocking 500, and that feels like too fast for me to control. Like it's like a car that ran away on you. But 3,000, 6 times the speed is just like ridiculous. Did you get a chance to see their homepage or how they get that speed?
I came back quite late last night because the train was doing tough stuff.
Watch this. This is how their box works.
Oh, okay.
They made a wafer. They made the whole wafer be inference.
What, they burned in the model onto silicon?
No. Like they made a GPU out of the whole silicon wafer instead of like just a chunk of it.
Huh.
And so all this stuff is like I/O and all that and cooling, but that's why they're so fast.
That's interesting.
Sick, right?
And repeatable as well. I mean, I don't know if they patent it, but
of course they would. But like you could, so you could drop that down. Like that feels compact. Like that feels like the density of inference you would get out of that is gonna be just unparalleled.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that. I thought that was cool.
What's the price point? A few grand or something?
A few grand, mate, for that whole wafer. You'd be lucky to come in under $500,000, I would guess.
$500,000?
Yeah.
What, for
the whole
box?
wafer. Yeah,
Seriously?
the whole wafer.
No.
How much do you want it to cost?
I'm just looking at this like some souped up GPU with got some model burned onto a wafer, and there's no way it can be selling that for $500,000.
How much do you want to pay it? I mean, I'm guessing, but I'll I'll run the query for you. Where are we? There. How much?
That has a huge impact on data center unit size. The form factor is a bit weird. It's not rack friendly, but okay. What's the use case they're expecting? Is this a desktop?
No, it's server grade data center. It's a data center for inference in a rack.
It's not. It's not easily rack mountable unless you.
Isn't that a rack? There's a rack right there.
No, it's you'd expect a pizza box 1U for a standard rack, and that is not 1U, and it's also in the wrong orientation. So you could put, I'm guessing from the size of that, maybe 4 or 5 to get maybe a
16 rack
5
units. There you go. 16 AU.
16. Oh, right. Okay. So I've got the wrong scaling. Ah, right. Okay. That
So
looked
that'll
like a
be like
desktop
1,
thing.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Oh,
7,
right.
8, 9, 10.
So
About the size of a tape drive. A tape
yeah.
robot selector thing.
Yeah. Well, 16 new is one rack.
Oh,
That's
look. Sorry,
about
mate. Turns out I was on the low side. 2 to 3 million.
Bloody hell. Jesus.
And it draws 23 kilowatts.
That is pretty much all you can get from a single rack. So, although it's 60 new, you're talking about sticking one of these things in a single rack.
Yeah.
Then you've got cooling, and then you've got power.
Yeah.
And you got router.
But, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like a million cores.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. So anyway, but when they price out, they price out at cheap, cheap in comparison to they're just slightly less than Grok, but their speed is just phenomenal. So 6 times the price and a little bit cheaper than Grok.
This is running models, not training models.
Running models, yep.
Right.
So, you know, that's I just think that we should have something like OSS should be whirring away at that rate all day, every day. And we sadly lack a load that we can chuck onto that. And I'm starting to see so many loads that I want to run, but we're not there yet with the infrastructure or the ability, but it feels like it's real close. It's getting very close to coming along. But that would be, you know, our intelligence engine. And you wake up in the morning and it's like, figured out what's the best thing to do today. What are we going to do?
Yeah, and I'm quite stunned. 60 new, basically one rack with everything else. Colo-wise is dirt cheap. Okay.
So anyway, you can start to see that it's quite plausible that you could have a self-sovereign data center running country-level inference.
Yeah, you wouldn't need a very large data center for that. Anyway. What was the kilowattage?
23.
23.
23.
So you get 40 of these things. You could churn it out, and you'd still have a very modest data center.
Modest data center.
Yeah, you know, small one, or you could have one of these containerized ones, which I'm a particular fan of.
I'm a big fan of those. Yep. Okay, so
that's cool. That's really cool.
That is cool. That is cool. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to. I'm doing it for you. I'm trying to actually find this bloody demo, get this demo going. Because I know you love a good demo.
I do. I like a good demo. It's my favorite things.
And you know, to be fair, who doesn't? Who doesn't? So sorry about the boring ass part.
It's mostly when, you know, the demo doesn't work. That's the fun bit.
There's plenty of those, my friend. Plenty of those. Okay, so we got the auth pop up, allowing the auth coming on in. We are connected. Okay, and then we need ourselves an Anthropic key.
What did you just connect to there?
Oh,
you don't need to
look, yeah, I'll do it all proper because I need to do some other stuff to set it up. But
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The thing I wanted to talk to you about is actually more of a flight of fancy than anything else, and I use flights of fancy as basically my fuel to keep me going, because If all I dreamed of was writing more code in the future, I'd probably kill myself. So,
Yeah.
let me show you what I've been dreaming about. It turns out that NVIDIA, bless them, trying to put this Grace Blackwell chip into absolutely everything. And one of the things that they've put it into is an edge-based computing device called Thor.
Okay.
And Thor is like a little block that sits there and has oh god, where is more pictures of it? I can't get the good pictures. Whatever. So
Very
this
small form factor there.
yeah, it's real small, but it also comes with like a little computer on it. It runs Linux, so it's basically a fully contained computer that's as compact as it comes, and it's got like gnarly amounts of it's basically got a Grace
Sorry,
Blackwell
what's
chip
that?
on it,
Whoa, that's
and
okay.
a pretty good power draw for its max use, 130 watts. So it's, that's, I think that's highly performant.
You think?
For the form
Yeah,
factor and the power drain, like it's extremely efficient.
yeah.
But what I wanted to do with that was, I don't know if you remember these things, but this is like the first laptop. And so that's,
Yeah.
so this thing is approximately the width or the depth. Like you could take that and slap it long ways there.
Yeah.
So what would be
Yeah.
cool to do is to take like two of these and make a case that was like this form factor that you fold up and you carry it around, but it's basically got two Grace Blackwell chips in it that could do inference. And the reason I bring this up is more to support the notion of a future use case, which might be that you got this box, you carried it around, you've been running around the wilderness, and then at some point you sit it down at a table, you fire it up, and it's like it knows all the data that it's seen from the last connections it's had. It's cut off from the internet, you're cut off from the internet, things are bad, you're in a war. You then start talking to it about what is the best thing to do next. You're like, here are our resources. Based on what you know last, give me some options. What do I do? What's the likelihood of survival? All that kind of thing. Right? So it starts running scenarios. But moreover, you could have other, other combatants that are with you. And like, you could treat it almost like an Alexa device where it sits on the table and it's sitting there and you're having like a genuine voice-based conversation with it, and it's whirring off running scenarios and calculations and all that for you, and it's basically guidance offline.
Man, that would be sweet.
And the reason I bring this up is that like it I think we keep getting trapped or tricked into thinking that AI is going to be this thing in the cloud and cloud, and that's the only place you get it. But when you start to have an AI that's vastly superior to a human that you can carry around in a box and put on a desk and fire it up and talk to it in a personified way, like, hey, how's it going? And it's like, it's pretty bad, we're gonna die in about 15 minutes. And you're like, okay, well, what do I do? And it starts like giving you mission critical advice, because it probably knows better than you anyway, even if it wasn't mission critical, even if it's like, I don't really care. The fact that it actually thought things through makes it better.
That sounds awesome.
And so you could put this in a tank, and that's like the brain of the tank, and you're driving around and you're like, oh my god, what are we going to do? And it's like, blah 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 blah, or you get stuck. You're like, oh, we lost a track, we lost this, we've taken a hit here. What do I do? And it can come up. It'll be like that crew of engineers that saved Apollo 13, but it's like in a box that's coming with you.
Well, I'm thinking, yes, absolutely, the tank thing, but also thinking, let's say, if you have a squad of 4 or 16 guys, each equipped with radios, and those radios on the loop is the AI, which they've plugged in somewhere with a radio receiver, and it's all through voice.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's
Right.
doing the coordination.
Yeah. Right. That's right. That's right. You're like, yo, 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 what's up? Plus, it could be like beaming out text and images and things to smartphone like devices.
But it's also feeding back in real time because it's just a box sitting there if you've got a connection with the guys, but you've also got a connection to your one up. Then
Right.
your one up can say, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" And it's like,
But it would be like, it
don't
would
speak
be
to
a
them right now.
connection to your one up's box.
Yeah, right, right.
And right. And then if you got several of these in a room together, they ought to be able to network and then start sharing tasks. Like one of them's like, okay, I'll work out these scenarios, you work out these scenarios, and it just starts,
That would be really, really powerful.
But I just feel like if you can personify the box, like if that was self-contained and it had enough intellect that it could give you better advice than you could get from anywhere else, and it's running offline, like that's the model to really strive for. You drop down somewhere, pull that out. You could even be out and about doing business meetings, business deals. You could be in the middle of the jungle and you're like, okay, these guys want this much, this, that, the other thing. Someone wants a bribe. This guy's sister is married to this, whatever. And then this thing's like whirring away, and it's like, okay, your best move is blah, blah, blah. Backup plan is blah, blah, blah. And I've phoned a chopper. It's going to meet you in one day. Don't be late. And that's your edge intelligence, like your
It is, but it's yours, isn't it? So there's an endpoint that, let's say, in the fantasy drug dealing app that you showed the last time, you had one of these things, and that's an endpoint that people could phone up to. In the same way as you phoned up to the AIs, but they're phoning up to you. Now, you might be one person, you might be, 100 people, but it would answer the questions and also triage and pass on information. Also thinking about the paramedic side, because they've got call handlers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And when you got a problem, you call up for expert advice. But if you've got a thing with you in the vehicle,
yeah,
and you're like, okay, guys, what do we do? Or disaster zones. You drop down, you got a couple of brains with you, and you just jack them in. You're running off generators or battery packs, and it's like mapping the situation, taking in all the data, giving you advice, radioing that back.
Yeah, precisely. And with that wattage, well, let's take disaster zone. That wattage, you probably trickle charge it over basically anything, solar panels or whatever. But it would be an endpoint that knew, or was an AI endpoint that was gathering information from everyone.
Yeah.
That's real nice form factor. I wouldn't even bother with the keyboard and display at that point. I would just say, a box you plug in, and you
just a box, like basically an Alexa, and it lights up and you can speak, and it's it. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And relays calls, distributes information just in time to the right people, but not too much information. That is real neat.
Anyway, that's got me excited as something to do in the future.
I'm a bit obsessed by this idea that A screen is useful, but a keyboard is not. A keyboard is the really clunky way of basically doing text, and if you can talk to it, it should be just a screen and a box.
Yeah, maybe. A keyboard's good because you can signal a lot of things, like you can press yes or no or whatever, and a screen's good because you can scroll information fast, but I don't know.
Yeah, but there's something there, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's interesting where it's going. That inference at that wattage may be an interesting metric to watch out for, because as soon as you get a low wattage, high inference box, then you've got edge.
Mm.
At the moment, most of the inference engines running on GPUs, need active cooling, if not water cooling.
Yeah.
Which is just not really practical.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's the end of show and tell. Is there anything you want to show and tell, or anything interesting you spotted around the world?
Not really, because
No.
I've been spending last couple of days talking to people, so I can talk about the talk. Couple interesting things. So, shall we go into Craig and Johnny?
Sure.
So, now, just to calibrate, Johnny's is pretty smart. And his background, just to remind you, is in.
I remember very well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And these guys have been looking at AI and have been dismissing it as basically, flops of rubbish and hallucinations and all that kind of thing, which was a very interesting conversation, because I then started to talk about architecting and NCP architecture, especially having kind of oversights, bots looking at it, back grinding. They had a completely wrong idea of how expensive tokens are. And they had the wrong idea about data sovereignty, in terms of they thought everything was going out to California. So I spent a couple hours. It is, isn't it? Because these guys are not, they're not dim. They're not your usual guys.
They're techies, so yeah.
Yeah, and they're early adopters as well. I mean, they've been on the last 3 big waves of stuff, and they're looking at this and going, okay.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny.
So I took them to the architecture, and the idea that you need to architect using MCP Lego blocks. And there was a coin drop moment I could see in Johnny's brain when he went, okay. And then immediately started solutioneering. So one of his problems that he's looking at the moment, and this is a real doozy, he's working for a company that does a train simulator. And apparently that's a thing. And
simulating a train.
Yeah, it's like for train enthusiasts, but it's hyper realistic. It's like flight sim for trains. It's a thing.
Okay.
Makes a few million a year. And with enthusiasts mostly. But one of the things that he's been tasked with is, in order to keep up with the nerdiness of the customer base, they have to make the trains sound correct. It really, and this is a big deal. I didn't quite understand it, but when I dug into it, I kind of got it. So the simulation needs to be as real as possible. And so what they've been doing is putting microphones around actual trains of that type, and then recording the audio, and then trying to break down that audio in order to recreate that in the particular state in the simulation. And at the moment, he's having to do that by hand. So I did a walkthrough of how you do that with kind of various NCP blocks that I just, generated them magically on a whiteboard. But assuming, you could do each, it's like, okay, so you get a Fourier transform and you get a state and you get LLM that is looking out for the cadence of, for example, the wheels on the track. So it's going to be going at a certain rate. You know the speed because you've been recording that as well. So that part of the Fourier transform is the wheels. You've also got the diesel engine. And this sounds like a trivial kind of, gamey thing to do. But there is a whole part of the MCP Lego brick land that Johnny's off thinking about now. I was thinking, well, why wouldn't you use that to tune an engine? Why would you use that to check a jet engine on an airplane? Why would you not choose that to check a cardiograph?
Yeah. Okay.
So as soon as he got the NCP idea and breaking it down, then he got it. So one of the takeaways from that conversation, one of the first takeaways, was explaining NCP as Lego bricks, and the fact that you're on tier 2 and not on tier 3, because he was toiling away at tier 3.
Tier 3, yeah. Right, so one of the interesting ways I heard MCP being described as so from the oil and gas project, the issue was the number of connectivity pieces that had to be made to make sure everyone's integrated with everyone else, and that's that like n-1 squared over 2 thing. But MCP in a way fixes that, because MCP does it without being a system in the middle. It's just it's a protocol that can handle all other protocols in a way.
Yeah, precisely. And we talked a bit about that, in that you don't need to hard code, you don't need to even necessarily transform data, although some data types are better than others. And you get the connectivity that you get. Otherwise, that would need to be baked code. And the interesting thing is, as soon as I started talking in NCP, and this is just indicative of a smart person being introduced to the idea for the first time, he was coming up with, right, so if I solve this problem for trains, there is another problem, which is in the North Sea, we're capping off oil wells, and they've got acoustics down there to make sure they don't leak. So how do you tell that they leak?
Right.
Versus how do you tell, whether a crab is just, shagging another crab right next to it with a microphone? And you can see the cogs whirling. So the takeaway that I got from that one is, interestingly enough, now I don't know how well bedded MCP is at the moment, but this is a guy who is well swept up on most of what's going on, and he didn't know about it. But also, when we were talking about Lego bricks, he absolutely got it and started to solutioneer all sorts of problems. Now, then I went into attribution, and that was where I think I lost him.
Right.
And this is something you probably need to think about in terms of how to communicate it. So I gave the usual chat about attribution. Is, you got contribution, you don't have to decide until a distribution event. who gets what. So you get rid of all that prior kind of haggling that goes on, which uh, apportions value when you don't even have a product yet. Did all that thing. And he still kept on going back to the old way of doing things. It's like, well, how are you going to get anyone to do anything without them knowing what they're going to get out of it?
Right. But how do you know what you're going to get out of an equity share?
Well, you don't. This is the interesting thing. It seemed that the equity share was a tangible thing. So at least you had a
Thingable.
thing in your hand,
I'm
even
sure.
though.
I'm sure we've all got collections of paper that represent those
Well,
tangible
exactly.
things.
It's just words. It's just words. Um, I took him through the idea of you agree to have an arbitrator, which is an AI based thing, and then he started to revert to, well, okay, but how do you know the AI is going to be fair and so on? I told him about the self improving aspect of the AI, and he started to get it, but I still don't think he's.
Yeah, it's unnatural, this thing we're trying to do. So, yeah, I wouldn't
Well,
be surprised.
yeah, but my takeaway from it is a greenfield would be the next thing to try. So if I get in contact with someone in East Africa who's smart enough to actually hold a conversation about attribution, I think they'll be more welcoming because even though Johnny has been burned many times in the past with share options and all that kind of thing, which actually came to naught. He still he was still
Still once
surprised.
today.
Yeah, there's a quite a strong um, draw back to knowing in advance what you're going to get should good stuff happen, even though good stuff hasn't happened.
Ha, that's hilarious. Okay, well, I think once it gets going, this attribution thing, once it gets going, I think it will be much easier to get people involved.
Well, my takeaway kind of heuristic from the conversation was it's going to be much harder to convince people who have lived in the age of share options and bonuses than it will be to convince someone who's never been through that.
Mm.
There seems to be.
I think more to the point, like I don't think we need to worry about any of that because we're just we're gonna do it, we're gonna run it, and we only need a handful of people to be in there doing it, and they're like, oh, actually, I know far more what I'm gonna get out of this than ever before, and I really don't think it'll be hard to
Yeah, yeah,
hard to sell.
that's true. What it's doing really for, I mean, we're only talking for 2 or 3 hours. What it's doing is just sense checking because you and I have been doing this for God knows how long. Sense checking with someone who has got quite an open mind and
Mm.
is skilled in the art and
Mm.
is trying to figure out.
Yeah, to be fair to them though, like
the
it's once you see it going, I think it's a lot easier to understand, and especially if you had a bot where you could ask it questions in any way you like, I think that's all good. But look at Bitcoin. I mean, the first time I heard about Bitcoin, I was just like, "That's bullshit. You can't do that." But it turns out you can. So it's kind of one of those things.
It's quite interesting. So the takeaways were the NCP Lego brick concept is really easy to get.
Okay.
And attribution is a harder concept to get. So I need to do more work, or we need to do more work on communication.
Yeah, I think we just got to get it going, and then we need to find how to use the bots to communicate it back out. That's all I'm really worried about.
Yeah.
Like anything we're doing by hand ourselves should be considered folly. Like
Interesting enough, one thing that really got on attribution, because remember, he's a systems engineer by trade. He got why negative attribution was required in order for it to converge on a median, because if it's only positive, then you're going to get exponential. So you need, he pointed out that negative attribution was actually critical for, you got a sine wave, and what you want to do is dampen the sine wave out. You only dampen it by having positive and negative. If it's all positive, then you're going to get exponential regardless, which was quite an interesting thought or insight. He was looking at it like you'd look at a positive feedback or a feedback algorithm in running an engine. That's how he saw it.
Okay.
So I don't know what to take from that, but it was.
Yeah. One second.
I think, does it change anything we're doing? No. However, was it worth going through for a few hours to meet up with some old mates? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess I see what's happening. Just give me 1 sec.
Do you need to do that thing that you said?
That was it.
Oh, that was very quick.
I know.
It was 1 second. Yeah.
So what I'm thinking of doing for the DAO situation is actually being able to mint tasks, or they're not so much stacks, they're more like things that we want to do, but then also mint NFTs that represent facts or claims or assertions, because there's so much information going around. Everyone's got an idea here, an idea there, and it needs to be that, someone declares something and then you're like, well, prove it, and they submit proof and whatever, and then the AI can determine if that's good proof, bad proof, whatever. But the way I want to get the system set up is that there's all these things that people suggest we should do. There's all these facts of varying degrees of certainty, and then, but it's still the bot that makes the decision on what to do. Because I think one of the ills of voting for action is that decisions have consequences. And so if you ask someone to vote on whether something is correct or not, it's very easy for them to stand there and be like, no, that's not right, or that is correct, or that isn't correct. But it's not easy for them to say, therefore we should do this. And when people, particularly strong people, go around trying to gather votes for like a course of action, like we should do this, we should do that, you can end up in a situation where they bully other people to do something, but you can't really say no because it might be the right thing to do. But also, like, it turns decision making into a popularity contest. It's like, vote for my thing, whereas like voting for facts is not really the same kind of, it's like a fact is a fact, or so we think. And it's a much lower, easier, independent bar for each person to be like, that's correct, that's not correct. The only kind of pressure you can apply in that situation is lie, or, no, it's not.
Right, and then I mean, that's hooking into the wisdom of the masses, isn't it? If there is a fact in contention, and if you get enough people affirming that that fact is true, it's most likely to be true. to a certain confidence level. The more people you get say, "Yep, your hat is brown." Um, you might get some outliers saying, "No, your hat is red," but the wisdom of the masses is all about affirmation of facts. It's not about votes, really.
Yeah, and also about guesses as to like the likelihood of correctness and all that. And I still don't feel like I've managed to say the main thing about voting for action versus voting for facts. Like voting for action is like if you don't vote, then there's no action. It's also very laborious because it's almost like you're part of every action, and then you also get blamed. Like if it was the wrong thing, you're like, oh shit. Well, I guess.
Well, the fundamental problem with voting for action is that you're voting for a choice, and those choices need to be detailed in advance.
Yeah, and you got to
like
like
this
think
guy or
carefully
like that
about
guy.
them, and it's got some sort of loss that it might happen for you. But if all that's taken out of your hands and it's a bot, and all you vote on is what's true.
Yeah. And that also lends itself to opinion voting.
Yeah, like conscience voting as well. It's like, well, this is not nothing's going to happen one way or another. We're just taking a temperature of where everyone's conscience stands, and people can be, arbitrarily righteous. It's just that when you convert a moral stance into an action, you're way more convincible because you can actually sway someone to do something. Like, even though your morals differ to theirs, you can convince them that this action is what they should do. Or,
Well,
the pressure to act will force them to do it, even if they don't like it.
right. And the obvious example of that is in voting every 4 years for, prime minister or president. And it's like, I like some stuff he's done. I don't like other stuff he's done.
Yeah.
Kind of. But if you were to put weight behind, what do we call it? A judgment. It's like, in my judgment, this is probably right.
Mm.
You could also easily add in your own confidence level. I think this is probably right, or this is definitely right, or this is definitely wrong, or this is probably wrong.
Mm.
And the bot would be able to get its teeth into that. Is that what you mean? Because then you could generate, the bot could generate based on all the judgment calls.
Yeah,
The right
that's what
course
I'm
of
getting
action.
at. Like, that seems like the correct way to do an active organization. So ambient attribution is passive, it's reactive, and it's really like home base, like, but activity or doing something, coordinating humans to do something is really hard. And getting them to vote and agree without hating each other, like in the wild, those systems, they don't work well. And you end up with like people who hold all the money get to tell what everyone else should do. Or, there's all these weird kind of biases that make it quite a horrible thing. But to make an org that can act like a unified whole where it looked out for everyone's best interests takes a bot. And if all you're asking from the humans is to give the bot a moral compass and a sense of the truth, then that's
Right.
that's way less burden, and it allows you to be very intermittent as to when you participate. The system keeps moving. You're not holding anything up by not voting because that's seems like there's an endless list of ills for actually voting to get something done. Like voting to stop something or is sort of easier because the natural tendency of voting is to actually end up doing nothing. So in some cases, that's the best default. But when you're trying to get an org that does something active, like being held up because everyone's off busy doing stuff, the time it takes for everyone to actually get together and then go, okay, let's go, horrifically slow. It's so inefficient. It's just
And the granularity is very poor as well.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And who sets the granularity of a vote? You're like, this vote is not worth my time, or crumbs, that vote is fatal if we get it wrong. That's why wasn't I told about that?
Also the interesting thing is it moves the cognitive load over to the human, because when you are given a yes/no vote, or something similar, where you need to make a decision, the information that you're considering is all in your head. Which is not a great place to put it. But if you were asked a whole bunch of questions for a judgment call and you could be fuzzy about it, and then your opinion would be expressed in the final situation.
Right.
What was actually done.
Right. And so for this particular DAO, it struck me that the only thing that I think that we should do is just be like, here's a system where you can come and you can mint NFTs. The NFTs represent facts that you claim. You can stake against it. And this other way of doing things, you can mint tasks. And again, you can stake against them. And we'll just list out what the main tasks we're trying to do are in there. So it's like, well, here's your status update. These are all the tasks. This is what we're doing. We're trying to get an AI decision-making system up that just runs on all these NFTs. It curates the task list, and it looks at all the facts and the probabilities, and it decides what is the best thing to do.
And then clicks on, makes a decision, and everyone
gets on with it very quickly as well.
Important, everyone feels like their voice is being heard, or at least in hypothetically, if they choose to share their voice, they would feel that it's going to be heard.
Yeah. So I think I don't know why it feels like just such a simpler way to do governance, but it's like very lightweight and very modern, and that's why I like it. Like, I can imagine building an MCP server that can give you that NFT minting ability. Yeah, it just seems quite simple.
Why does it need NFTs as opposed to simple statements? If I give my opinion about, if I was asked a question, are brown hats better than red hats? I'm going to say, mostly brown. That piece of information is
Why does it need an NFT? Well, because the NFTs are there because the money is in the same chain. And so the way I think about blockchains like Ethereum is that that's the same as connecting up to your payment gateway or connecting up to your bank. And so having the information that you use to make your judgments be in the same place as the money you spent based on those judgments, that makes sense. Plus, this DAO is an NFT-based community. Sorry. So having NFTs is sort of like natural. Like it makes it more than just a row in a database. It makes it a thing. Like it's a...
What do you do with those things, though? So the things are just a statement of your judgment call about a certain situation.
Well, they get deduplicated. So if enough people stake against or indicate their support of a particular NFT, the NFT becomes more valuable.
That value can't be
to the bot. It's more. It has a higher weight.
Right.
In the way that it thinks.
Yeah. Sticking money against it shouldn't skew the logic, though, because then we're right back. If you've got more money, your voice carries more weight.
In this situation, yeah, you're right. But it's still like, if all the money went on something that the bot was like, this is just completely not right, the bot should be able to refuse it. But if the bot was umming and ahhing where it had several options that looked about the same, but then like one of them had a lot of money against it from, for example, a diverse group of people as opposed to just one big whale, then the bot can, that's extra information that the bot can use to sort of shake itself out of a rut.
We're not touching on the kind of reputation management thing here, because if we were to remove actual cash from it, you could stake your judgment call against, let's just, call it an internal reputation coin, and say, this is how certain I am about this. And if the end result is the AI decides in your favor, then you gain reputation from that because you've made the right call.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's useful too. Yep, that is useful.
I'm very keen on keeping alive this idea that we had years ago about reputation, because I think people care about reputation, and reputation is earned as opposed to accumulated.
Well, yeah, but also reputation's not a thing; it's a calculation.
Yeah, but
which is subjective.
Yeah, but entire cultures have been run on reputation, or face, or whatever word you want to use for it.
Right.
But it does. The value of reputation is that the next time a judgment call comes up,
right,
your voice will be heard.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's not money that I'm talking about, but the stake is like your reputational stake.
Right.
Like it's
right.
and it's like sort of like how sure you are. So if someone like if there's a fact comes in and it was anonymous and no one's putting a name to it or agreeing to it, then the bot should be very suspicious of that. But if someone who has a track record based on some algorithm that the bot currently favors can be shown as like, this guy's usually right, particularly about this kind of thing, I'm going to listen to that. So the bot would just, it would generate its own means of determining reputation, I guess.
Yeah, and I think we could probably NFT reputation, or certainly
No,
events.
you can't. The NFT reputation. You cannot treat it like a thing. It's a subjective calculation based on contribution over time.
It is. Yeah, you're probably right. Let me rephrase that. Reputation is that consistently you are getting the right judgment calls when all is said and done. If you are, let's take an extreme where someone has just makes a choice whenever given a judgment call, flips a coin. They're going to get a very poor reputation because, who knows whether you're going to get it right or wrong other than the coin. If someone has a high reputation, it means that they are being incentivized to actually put thought and effort into generally making what they believe is the right contribution into the decision in hand. So reputation starts to look a lot like wisdom. The wisdom of a coin, not very good. Wisdom of someone who has been through it all and has seen this before and consistently makes good calls should count for something.
Yep. Okay.
I'm not sure how useful that is, but there seems to be, if we go back to the wisdom of the masses, if you consistently make a call, you're being asked to judge on a fact. Is this fact true or not? Or should we do this or not? And the bot decides in your favor consistently, then you are for want of a better word, more wise than someone who's just simply
Yeah, absolutely. Not
doing it
disagreeing one bit. But that is a subjective calculation, and I'm just looking for the most bare bones basic system that I can get up for this DAO, where there's AI governance involved, and I think it starts with just having facts and tasks or things to do, and then it's critically it's the AI that decides the order and the action that will be taken, and that burden's removed or alleviated from the people, because the people, democratic systems are not biased towards action. Dictatorships are biased towards action.
Yes.
And so we need the altruism of democracy's ideals with the dictatorships bias to action. And that's really the heart of what I think AI governance promises us, is like real-time liveliness, great decision making, but still everyone's in charge, because it was like the wisdom of the crowds that said what's right, what's wrong, what's, like, because some things are facts, and that's different to what's right and wrong. Like, setting preferences are separate to determining truth.
Yes.
And so those are two classes of thing, but I'm still not sure how you would set the rules of the system in terms of like morals or goals or things like that. Like facts, that seems independent, right? And that facts can be shared between projects. They're not even bound up in a particular project, just like all these facts, right? But how to go about or how to choose, like what's right, what's wrong. I don't know how to do that, man. It seems like it should be like someone has a pretty good guess at it and then makes a version, or, every so often someone gets asked, like a jury, because that's another mechanism when you don't really know.
It's a really interesting problem, isn't it? Let me think about this. So what we're saying is we're prioritizing the weight of your argument, as opposed to one person, one vote, or vote by how much cash you've got.
Yeah, the weight of your argument. But then what we're trying to harness with admin attribution is the bot's natural moral compass, the bot's natural sense of fair. But if you want a bot that doesn't draw on that draws on something different, like maybe you want like a war machine. I don't know if you can train a bot to be biased towards vicious things, or if it's just to make it more cold and calculating. But maybe for these initial rounds, giving the humans any kind of control over the fairness of the bot is just not possible, because who says what that is? Who programs the bot?
The bot updates itself based on its experience of the wisdom of the masses. So it's like, yeah, that last call didn't get quite right, because
but how would you know though? Like there's got to be some way of. There's no absolute right thing when you're dealing with the action arm of an org, because there's no right or wrong actions other than how you look at them. Like there's no absolute answer for what you should do.
No, there's no absolute answer, but whenever you turn anything into action, then you're making a gamble based on the best way that you think, given the evidence available. And the feedback loop is then the consequences of that action.
Yeah, but then you end up with things like, well, the DAO's got some money, and then like one of the members got cancer, and needs this treatment. Now, what's the right thing to do there? Should the DAO give no money to helping this person, or should the DAO give all of its money? Like, it starts to, like, these questions don't have determinable answers.
You could break that down though. In that example, if there's a new question, this guy's got cancer. What do we do as a DAO? And people put in their own judgment calls. Some say, "Yeah, sod him." They'll say, "No, absolutely." And then you make a decision, and then it's like that decision would result in some.
Oh, like so the bot could determine when it had hit some moral quicksand or a moral dilemma, and it could call a referendum where it's like, and the referendum is one person, one vote, or whatever other rules. So really, I think what you're getting at, or what you're highlighting, is that to have an effective autonomous governing system, you need a small number of escape hatch tools that the bot can determine that it's time to use, where a referendum is one such tool. A conscience vote would be another. I think you touched on a few others that could be included there. We're not saying money vote, because that's like, no. There could be like a council of elders. Oh, a jury. That was the other one. A jury, where you're like randomly pick members, and then you're like, you guys need to choose, and this is what we're going to run with.
Yeah, and it will be similar to going, should I, divorce my wife, and you phone up your mates saying, hey, what do you guys think?
Right. So you basically give the bot it's got its own concept of fair, but depending on the constitution that it's prompted with, the sys prompt, it might have conflicting interests, or it might be like, I'm not sure what to do here, and so it knows that it should trigger a referendum.
Right. And maybe more grounded is like, should we start using the OSS model? I would weight your judgment, because of your previous reputation of making good judgment calls, more than I would weight, asking Rosalind what she thinks about it, because it'd be a coin toss.
That's harsh, but okay.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
Previous good judgment calls should be weighted higher than previous poor judgment calls. Or someone who's got poor judgment should have a lower weighting than someone who's got high judgment, which comes, if you've got a high enough reputation of consistently good judgment, then you're effectively an elder, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to take what you say at face value because you're true and honest and of good judgment.
Right.
Versus, asking my postman what he thinks we should do with AI, and go all in. Yeah, why not, man? Yeah. Should you buy should you buy shares in Nvidia right now? There's something there about consistency of good judgment calls. Now, the interesting thing is how do you record that? And the AI at the point of decision doesn't know what the impact is, but it will, because it can revisit and going, okay, that was my judgment call, and this is the impact.
Oh, I see. So each time you go over something sticky, yeah. Okay, well, I guess I'll just try and run with that, because it sounds like very, very easy to get off the ground. It's like, here's a truth system, here's a job system, and here's a couple of escape hatches when it gets stuck.
Right. Yeah. And when and again, the trigger on stuck is when the AI decides its confidence level is like, I have no idea because I don't know. So I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you guys. And then by asking you guys, it's the wisdom of the masses. As many people as asked as possible is good, but then not every voice is equally venerable. It's like, well, this guy over here has always had very good judgment in the past. This guy over here has been a complete, you know, random. And therefore, I'm going to use that wisdom of the masses, but I'm going to scale each of the confidence levels in what they're saying based on how right they've been, and right is defined in previous actions have resulted in good consequences as opposed to poor consequences.
Okay. You mind if I move
I
on?
know that was, yeah. I know that was quite convoluted, but I see in my head how you could prompt that.
All right.
Is
Okay. So, shall I move on to the demo part of the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Right. So what I managed to get us set up. Turns out I had to patch one of the libraries from Anthropic to do dynamic tool calling, which, you know, it sucks, but that's sort of just how, I guess, on the edge we are. Like, it's really, this is very, very fresh ground. And what I want to talk to you about is what I've managed to get going, and how can you and I get a system going where you can start working on some of the prompt problems here, because some of the problems are, what did I fill out the function called descriptions to be so that the bot knows how to call them. And I'm thinking that the real key here is if we can get the simplest of systems that's an eval, like I need something to eval against, we can then make bots that can try and solve the eval score so that they make changes. We can introduce strategies of, you know, take a note here. Okay, that was worse. That was better. That was better. All these things here were a little bit better. Let's smush them together. Basically, a way to make a loop where a bot can work on improving the quality of some natural language based system. That's what I need to work out with you, because these tools that we've spoken about, they sound like they should be able to do it, but now you and I need to integrate.
Right. So by eval, really, you're looking at a confidence level. Well, actually, no. Are you meaning an action versus whether that was actually what was meant?
It's more like, did I do the job correctly or as good as I could? So right. If there's a conversation where I'm like, okay, I'm trying to create a repository, and then it's like, oh, well, I searched and I found this other thing, and then I loaded it, and then that was wrong, and then I backed out, and then I made a couple of erroneous tool calls, blah, blah, blah. And so what I'd want is another bot to look at the message history and be like, well, if we prompted differently here, or rename this function or this description, perhaps it would run better. And so it would do those changes and then rerun it and then score it again. And it would just keep on. That's what I'm wanting.
Yeah, and there's the intention there. So take, I want a repo. It's easy enough to see whether the repo was created. But it's another thing.
Not necessarily, because if you come in code, because now that we've got dynamic tools, the bot to make a repo, it has to search for the repo tool, find the right one, load it, and then, you know, create the repo. But you could also, if you were in a different part of the system, like if you'd navigated to some other repo and you're like, I want a new repo, and then it makes a new repo right there, is that what you wanted? Maybe you wanted it back at your home, and so it needs to be able to give the right answer with a lot of different, when the environment's different in a lot of different ways.
So the really obvious bare bones one is if the user, having asked for a repo, has to ask it twice.
Asking twice is one definite failure mode that can be auto detected. An erroneous tool call, like a tool call that didn't work and needed to be retried, or that some parameters were wrong. Why were they wrong? Maybe if you were prompted differently, they wouldn't be wrong.
Right.
And so that's the sort of work that, like, this is a lot of that work, like a lot of it.
And the eval would be in restricting future calls based on previous. Well, that didn't go well, did it? And so I'm going to add in an additional line into your sysprompt to say, don't do that. That didn't work. So it sounds like the prompting should look at the very basic. Let's take the you had to ask twice. You call something and did something, and the user went, no, that's not what I asked for. And the result would be the eval would go, oh, okay, fine, I'll not do that again. And the I'm not going to do that again would go into the list of heuristics saying, in this sort of situation, don't do this. You could also have a positive feedback.
Yeah.
In that if the user just, breezed on into the next prompt saying, oh, I got that right. And so you could add it into the set for heuristics saying, in this situation, this seemed to work. Great. And then you could start to constrain future calls by a list of heuristics, which were ingested into the next time you use it.
Yeah, so that's kind of the problem now. Like, we're at that stage, and you and I need to, in a hell of a hurry, figure out what's the best use of time, because I need to give you some basic tools, and then you need to tell me what tools you need to make tools that can improve themselves, because it's starting to come down to a bunch of mutable text.
Yep. Well, the basic tools are the same ones, a repo, and the NCP calls, and ideally frames and jitters. The feedback part is behind the scenes. The feedback part, I think it really is that simple. Is building from experience. Last time,
Yeah,
said this,
yeah. So, but it's what I'm trying to get at is that there's a lot of different ways to do that, man. And so, like, how we pick the fundamental structure is going to greatly influence our success, and there's probably going to be a few missteps on our part. But I think we both agree that the goal is to be able to get the bots to be able to improve themselves. And we know that that's possible because we've done it in sort of little bursts and all that, but we need a more mechanized form of it. And the architecture of how we lay out the system greatly influences how easy that is or isn't to do. Like, but mate, I'm just gonna go with the first thing that I can actually manage to comprehend and get going, and then we'll just have to fuck with it and see where it's wrong or see where it hurts, see what the shortcomings are. But it's time. You're up now. Like, this is prompt time, and now I need you to tell me what the tools are.
That's how I'll do it. So I would have user ask something, and there's decision is like, was that right or was that wrong? But the right or wrong would be stashed somewhere text file, and they will be fed in for the next time, so that you don't have to um, remind the bot a second time. It's
Right.
like, hey, you keep on making the same mistake.
Yeah, it should never.
Yeah.
But even that might be more advanced than what I mean. Like, we got to get off the ground first. So right now, I've done the prompting and I've written the prompts. They sort of half work. You will be able to do them better. A bot should be able to do them repeatedly over and over again and get them really good. And that's the system that together we got to make.
Yeah.
I can get the code working, you can get the prompt working, but then we got to find this way to make the bots do the prompting.
Yeah. I can't think of a simpler thing other than a feedback loop.
All right. Well, I'll show you what I got and where we're at. It feels like a any day now type of a thing for unlocking a lot of the tools. So,
Cool.
As I mentioned, I had to patch one of Anthropic's primary offerings to enable this dynamic tool thing. So, if that's any indication that this multi-billion-dollar company that invented this protocol doesn't have the functionality that they described in their spec that we need to do this thing, if they haven't implemented that, I don't know what that says, but we're pretty damn early, and it feels a little bit shaky.
We're going to be bleeding out of our eyes for the next 6 months.
Fucking Christ. I don't think we can't afford that, and I don't think we have to. But this feels like this is a great place to start. There is nobody else around. It's barren, but we know what we want. So this is a good place to get going on. I think this is where we can actually publish a platform.
So what have you got unlocked then?
All right, so this is the inspector that I patched. I'm going to connect to it. It does the OAuth loop.
Yep.
I log into the Dreamcatcher. I get the 3 fundamental tools and some core resources.
Mm-hmm.
I go and I search for a tool named Rezos. It says, oh, you probably want... It says I'll give you 2 results. Repos and... Yeah. Repos and... That's about it. Rezos. What about resources? Sorry. My fuzzy search. It ain't so fuzzy. Okay, so it's like, alright, you've got this tool.
Okay.
I come and I say, I could fetch for this tool, which would just simply give me more detailed information about it rather than the search results.
Yeah.
But what I really want to do is I come over here and I click load. Now, as you see, that was the thing I had to patch. The tools changed.
Yeah.
And the architecture I think is best if actually you can only load one tool set at a time, and that inevitably unloads the last one. And then I made this special function that I gave it a dorky name so that if you collide with me on this name, you're an idiot. And so this is the tool to call that unloads the dynamic tools and drops you back to the triad.
So it's like a pop backup.
Yeah, but that's all you can do. And so part of my prompting is like, well, I got to teach the bot how to oscillate. And I wanted to teach it not in sysprompt, but in tool prompts so that it flicks back and forwards. There's some nuances with prompting via tooling, is that if the tooling changes, the server often doesn't get to see, the bot doesn't get to see what the old tools were, because typically you'd take them out and you'd only give it the tools that it's got right now. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't know the tools that it used to have. So that means that when I return something from a tool, if I return something and it's got information in it, like now you have loaded the blah, blah, blah tools, that means you can blah, blah, blah. That stays in the message history, and so the bot will be aware of it, right? So there's these different ways that we can get the prompt in there, but I'm not sure which is the best way, what's the best performing way. It's just one of a basket of techniques that we need to evaluate for minimum token, optimum performance under all conditions. These are the prompt problems that I'm having, right? Also the architectural choices that I've made. There are other ones that we can do, right? But right now I've gone with load, search, fetch, and you can only load one tool set at a time. Resources, I've said, well, those are actually not visible to the bot unless it explicitly goes digging for them. But in general, they shouldn't really be used by bots. They're more for the service of the humans and the UIs and the interfaces that need a bit more context. The bot gets its context from tool calls and message passing. So, yeah. So anyway, let me go back to loading this tool, right? So I load the resources tool, or tool set, I should say. Now I get these things. So if I list all the resources, it's like, well, you've got artifact home, so I can copy the URI from that. You've also got artifact scope. Okay, fine. I can then read a particular URI, and if I run it, I get back the contents of that resource. I can confirm that it gives me the same thing as if I ran this, read resource, and that's the same. So that's interesting because it's a tool call that I have to intercept by the MCP server. So the tool call runs the MCP server instance, intercepts it, and then sort of reflects it back into the MCP server to answer rather than the artifact system. Whereas all the other actions are interpreted by and run by artifact. So then if I...
stand by. Say that last part again. I didn't get it.
This set of tools, the list, the templates, and the read, and this set of tools, the load, the search, the fetch, the load is intercepted by the MCP server. When I do search, that actually sends an action into Artifact to execute some code, to dig around and do some stuff and come back with some search results. But when I call load, Artifact never actually gets that. That's intercepted by the MCP server because it needs to change the state of the MCP server. Okay, so if I go back and I load the resources, Christ almighty, this is this thing. If I load the resources tool set, this is the only other place so far where these calls are intercepted by the MCP server, because these three calls mimic what this call does. This is an MCP direct call to read a resource.
I see.
Right? But to give the bot ability to see that, I need to sort of intercept the calls, but it's only these ones. So there's 4 intercepted calls. Load, 5, load, list, templates, read, and unload tools. They are intercepted by the MCP server. Everything else is pure artifact. Okay, so if I then unload those tools and then I load the second result that came back from search, which was
I've got pinging. I'm just seeing if it's Marla. No, it's not.
So I load up the repos tool. So this is a pure artifact tool. Now I loaded it and I got all these Git controlling tools. Unload tools stayed there because that's how you pop out. So we need to prompt the bot that this is the mode of operation. you search, search, maybe fetch if you want more info, but search, and then load. And now you're in using the tool mode. Use the tools, unload the tools, come back.
Right. So one way of doing that, probably not the nicest, is in the thread, if you're asking for a tool that exists, then happy days. If you're asking for something that doesn't, then it says, do you want to go back to where you were? Unload.
You can't search while you're in using mode. Were you talking about just the technique where if you load the tools and you find that it's not really what you wanted, then you should unload?
Yeah, I'm just saying if it's where the onus is on your intent at any one point. So if you are in the right place and the tool exists, then great. If you are in a place and the tool doesn't exist, you're in the wrong place. So where do you go from there? So you pop back up one. So you
the angle that you're telling me this from, is it you're stating something that you're going to program into the bots, or is it you're asking a question, or I'm not clear
so the example is in terms of you're typing in a prompt. So it's like write this file to a repo.
Right.
And so that would say, okay, right, we can do that. I know the repo because I know the thread. Here's the things you can do in the repo. Now, if I then say, I don't know, give me the weather. It's like, you're in a repo, man. What are you asking about the repo? There's no tool for talking about the weather. I don't know where you are.
Yeah.
And so the bot could be sysprompted to, at that point, saying, I thought we were talking about repos. Now you're talking about...
Oh, right, yeah. So, okay, so you're telling me that you think one of the solutions is that, or features that the sysprompt needs to have, is critically it needs to tell the bot how to back out if it finds itself with functions that don't apply.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the gross way of doing that is if you're asking something that is not the currently listed set of tools, if you're asking anything else, then it's like...
All right, so that sounds like something that should go in the sysprompt, the prompt of unload tools.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, if you find yourself, if you don't have the tools you want, then if you call this function, you will be presented with da 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 da.
Right? Yeah, because
okay, cool.
You could do that multiple times. So
yeah, so these are your problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that's how to do it.
Okay.
If there's a good match of available tools,
yes,
to the tool.
Yeah.
If there's not a good match, bump.
Then, so once you have all that, you got these tools, you can use them. The concept of the clipboard was going to be that you actually have to unload tools and then load the clipboard tool, or load the clipboard tool set to be able to work with the clipboard.
Oh, right, okay.
And so that causes some weird things, because it's weird to have the clipboard with you, because where I got to, I was like, well, you shouldn't have this dynamic tool set is dangerous because it's confusing to have more than just unload tools. If there's other tools that are always there as well, that seems to exponentially complicate the situation, because how do you get across to the bot what's the difference between these permanent tools and these dynamic tools? It doesn't have a memory of what the tools used to be. It only knows what the tools it's got now, plus the tool calls it's made and the results. And so that was why I thought, and I am open to suggestions if you tell me why, that's why I thought that there should only be one system call, which is unload, and then you back out. So there's no the clipboard's not with you all the time. The resources reading, it's not with you all the time. You got to switch tool sets to get that. So everything's almost like one or two steps. And honestly, of all the other options I thought about, that seems like it's continually the clearest and the cleanest. It's jarring a little bit because you end up being quite busy, but I think that's the model. Like this MCP thing is like it's basically like a Linux terminal, and you go around and you're like navigating around, and you like change to the navigator tool. Okay, CD this, search this, find this, blah blah blah. Okay, change directory, blah. Okay, switch tools to the Git tool. Okay, Git. I got repos. I got this thing. I switch to the Git repos tool. Okay, and it sort of rapidly oscillates around, but the tools it picks are always super focused, one tool at a time, which is actually how humans use computers. But we we do a bunch of steps in our head that we probably don't even think about it.
When you unload tools, does it go back to a previous state? So if you have a clipboard with populated with data,
yeah,
and then you go down a rabbit hole and you go, oh, okay,
yeah. So the clipboard, like the clipboard is permanent, like it's mutable. It's you. The purpose of the system is that you run around and you make changes to the system, and the changes persist. And the clipboard is no different. Like you can run down arbitrarily many rabbit holes, and just when you get to a certain point, switch to the clipboard tool, copy the resource you want, and then get back out.
Right. How do you do that navigation?
All right. So let me run through in painstaking detail what a simple version of what you just asked for is.
Uh-huh.
So I start at default. I want to get to, I want to see my repos. I load the repos tool. I call repos. This bit's broken, sorry I couldn't fix it in time. But that'll give me equivalently what would also be displayed as resources. So you, the human, and the UI could have seen them as well. But it's basically just a list of repos. Okay, now I pick one and I'm like, I want to take that one and I want to put it on the clipboard because I want to do something with it, right?
Yeah.
So I go unload tools. I then go search for clipboard. This won't come up because I haven't made the clipboard yet. I then load the clipboard, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll call those tools up just for the sake of my demonstration. I've loaded the clipboard, and then I'm going to imagine that this is copy or push onto the clipboard. This is the critical bit. When I called the previous tool that listed the repos, that tool call is in the message history of the chat. So the bot needs to take the fields that were returned of the one that I want to select and fill out the form verbatim to push onto the clipboard.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, fuck, there's a lot of ways that you could do that move, but that move seems to be, in my mind, that's the best compromise of all the different things. So really what I'm trying to... Sorry.
So I'm just going to run through this. So say I've had 3 repos and I want to go and find a file in each one and bring them back up to a thread where I'm actually going to do some real work.
Yep.
So I would go into each repo.
Yep.
And there would be presumably some kind of command when I find the file. It's like, yep. That one.
Yeah, so you got find, you'll have like find and grep and all those things.
Right. Yeah.
And you finally narrowed in on it. Could be a folder, could be a file.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the first one, and
Yep.
then I pop back out to
Well,
go
that's the
into it
first one.
again.
So you're there, and then you switch tools to the clipboard tool, and
Yep.
then you push onto the clipboard, writing out the details of the resource that you just became aware of.
Yep.
So that'd mean that you got to write out the repo ID, basically you got to copy what came back to you when you asked for like its metadata. You're like, file, give me the metadata of this file. And it's like bang, and then that result, that object, you have to write that out verbatim into the function call to clipboard, where you go clipboard push, and it needs to have that exact information.
Right. Right. And now that is there, you can go into the second repo, do
Yeah.
exactly the same.
And
Third
now you
repo,
go,
do
then
exactly
you
the
go
same.
unload. You go unload to get the clipboard tools off, and then you go load to get back the tools you just have, which may have been the navigation tools where you want to move around files and folders.
Yep.
You keep doing that some more, you find another one, you get the metadata of the item you want to put on the clipboard, switch to clipboard, push to clipboard, switch back to the tool you were just in, carry on.
Right. Now you got stuff on the clipboard, and
Yep.
at the highest level, saying, "Okay, I've just retrieved 3 files."
Yep.
Now I'm talking about these 3 files and the previous thread.
Right, so the previous thread is represented again as a resource. So you would go into, you would load the chat tools. The chat tools know how to like list chats, because it is true that the chats are just a folder on the file system. But one of the beautiful things about being able to use MCAPs and resources is that I can not just pass the raw data, but pass the interpretation of that data along with it on the clipboard. So
Right.
if it was just binary data, I'm like, oh, what is this? But if it's an audio file that's made for a particular player, I can put the information about the player or the executable that's meant to be used to interpret this data and the data itself on the clipboard. And that's how I think the clipboard should work. So you're actually pulling out MCAP related data, so that when you go to read it again, you know which MCAP you should use to generate it, which means that the view can be entirely virtual compared to what the data is on the disk. And so chats is like that. Like when you read chats, they come out as this virtual representation, as opposed to you needing to understand the folder structure every time. And so when you're in the chats, you could have navigated to the raw files and put those on the clipboard if you wanted to, or you navigate using the chats and you're like, this whole chat, I want that put on the clipboard, which in this exact example can give you a very stripped down version of the chat, because it knows that if you're putting it on the clipboard, you don't want all the minute details unless you specify that in the request. You would get back just a compressed version of the contents of the chat, as opposed to how many tokens did it take, how long did it run for, all those kinds of extra details that are also in the files. And so you can load up just the form or the view of the data that you want on the clipboard.
Right. So here's an example stress test. So I've got my company accounts, and for some reason I put in each year in a different repo, and I want to compare every April for the last 3 years.
Okay.
So the tooling would work. Okay, into the repo, find April 2022, 2, 3, 4, pull them out, and those are on the clipboard.
Yep.
As well as some reasoning around it, saying, yeah, this is why it's April. And now you'd be able to talk to those 3 individual asset data
Well,
assets.
when you call the next bot, you can call it and pass the clipboard along. And when you pass the clipboard, you can specify that you want it to be inserted into the context of the message. With
Right.
it's
So
basically concat. That's when concat runs.
yeah. So then I could pull those three, the April accounts for the last 3 years. I could pull it into whatever I want to do. Let's find out what the year end prices were for the last 3 years and give me a graph or
Mm.
whatever.
Mm.
Okay.
But the issues that I'm getting at is like there's a set number of concepts that all the bots need to be aware of. So for example, if the clipboard comes in, and you know how in Concat I had, relative folder paths so that the bot knew which files were part of which folder. Well, now that we got repos and branches involved, does the bot need to know about repos and branches so that it can interpret things better? Should it be the responsibility of the sysprompter to actually incorporate those topics into the bot? No. Probably the descriptions in the tool calls should be enough that the bot knows about repos, branches, and files in a way that allows it to use these things without error. And now, if we can't get that going, then you would come to me and say, look, we can't get the bots prompted to be reliable with the structure because there's too many concepts, or because repos and branches and things, it's not clear enough. We need to find another way to structure the system.
It doesn't really need to know about that. It's my initial
Well,
thought.
if you pass, I think it does, because if you pass in some files that are split across 3 different repos, the bot needs to know about repos when it gives its response, because it's like, well, what if the follow-up question was, now, how do I merge all these together? And it's like, well, they're in 3 repos, so you can't do that, but you can pick one of the repos and copy all the files over. You can make a 4th repo and then copy the 3 files in.
Sure, but wouldn't that be incorporated into the context that it's pushing back along with the file? So it's going, hey, I found this file and it was in this repo, and here's why I think this is what you're looking for.
Yeah, but what's a repo? That's the thing. Look, I don't know any better. I'm making the system as best I know how, and I think that we're just going to have to muckily muddle our way through it. But
yeah,
these are the problems. There's a balance to be struck between prompting and system design. Like, the choices I've made may have fucked us in some ways. Maybe you can fix it in prompt, maybe not. Maybe some of your prompt issues I can fix in code. This is where the water and the land meets. It's gonna be that messy interface. I just picked what looked nicest to me. When you get amongst it, you may come back to me and say, look, something's not working here. Let's figure out a solution.
Yeah.
But so far, right, like that the system seems to work.
Yeah, and on first blush, I can see how it should work.
Right, like, you can see what I'm trying to get at, right? Surely.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm trying to make it this. You got one tool. It's only got like 4 options, 5 options. Like, there's no more big ass 46 tools.
There's a few things I'm confident about here, which is constraining the choice of tools is going to get a better result. Definitely.
Right. So how the search function returns things is critical, and how the bot works the search.
Yeah, that return a summary of the why or what has just happened is is important. So you got the file payload, and then you've got a description of, hey, I chose this because you asked for that. Now, how that that meta package that's passed back onto the clipboard is generated is going to be a prompting job for sure. And then there's another prompting job saying, now I've got 3 files and I've got reasons why these 3 files are what you were asking for at the top of the thing when it said, go and find, my accounts for April over the last 3 years. It's like, here's the April accounts and here's where it came from.
Yeah, and then, that's when extra layers of functionality get added in there where we would want the bots to take note of what April accounts mean so that next time it knows that this is the folder structure that it's working with, and it can very quickly realize
that's the token reduction thing you're talking about.
But that's not able to be built into the tooling. That's a separate subsystem that looks at the chat and makes a knowledge base, a distilled knowledge base that gets loaded by that particular bot in that particular use. Right.
So the way I do that in prompting is at the start, have got the thread. It's like, hey, I want to talk about accounts, and it's like, okay, right. I'll go and retrieve the log of what you're talking about with accounts last time. It's like, all right, okay, so this is the repos you're talking about. Fine. You might ask for new repos, but if you ask about those again, I don't have to spend too much time thinking about this because I know that's right. When you're talking about April, you've structured the repo in a particular way that I can go straight and get April.
Right.
Boom.
Right.
Don't have to think about too much.
Right.
And I'm going to get high fidelity. So there is the consistent memory of the heuristics of previously successful searches. When I say April, you know what I'm talking about, and you know where the repos are. Just go and do it, and come back, and then when we're back in, you got the meta for each file which has been passed back from the previous call, saying, here are the accounts from April, by the way, they've just been updated, or whatever additional we want to prompt for. And then you've got your, you're now in the thread with your 3 files, you know why those files are there, and the thread itself is just prompted, so it knows what it's got to do with it, and it also knows the thread of what you're being trying to do. I'm looking for the end of year accounts. I could again. I can see how to do it, but there's going to be wrinkles, isn't there?
A lot of wrinkles there. Okay, great. So,
but from your point of view, the constriction of tools and the swap of scope, diving in and unloading, pushing,
navigating around, and then like swapping tools in and out.
That is going to be very bot friendly.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
So a few other tricks up your sleeve. You should be able to, well, I think I can make for you a search function that can be restricted. So if you can somehow, if you want to make a bot that has a narrow ability, the way to do it, I think, is to restrict what comes back from the search query. And so, you could narrow it down to like 20 different tool sets and be like, that's all that bot is ever going to need to use. And when it does search, it's just going to get those things back. Or you might just sysprompt it with the whole 20 tools as something it can choose. I don't know, but there's a lot of different techniques here. I don't know for sure that this dynamic tooling way works in the way that I've laid it out, but I know that it's definitely in our future to figure out. Like, you have not told me a superior way. This way sort of looks like it works. I think the only path we have is to run it to ground. And just see. And I think that running it to ground is really only a couple of days worth of prompting work, if you and I were sitting in the same room, and if I could build you tools as soon as you ask for them. So it might be that we actually need a bit of overlap. Like if I can get you to a stage where you can do some stuff, and then we sit down together and figure out the rough edges, where I'm like, well, you tell me how's this supposed to work, how's that supposed to work, and then I'll be fixing the code, and while you're doing some prompting work, and then we can, get there faster.
Yeah, and we've got plenty of examples. We got well, take the translation thing. We've got the OSINT, which is probably going to be the last one to try because that I think could be quite tricky. But we've also got the accountancy, where's the money going thing. So I think the way to do it is to take one of these real life problems, which we've got real life data for, and try and do it.
All right. Well, yeah. So, and we also got the DAO thing, and we got the ambient attribution agent as well. So, lots of options. But here's my theory. I think that with this kind of interface, like this inspector, if I gave you the ability to browse your file system and the repo tree, as well as call bots from within, so you'd load the chats function, and then you'd fire off a call to, call GPT-5 with these parameters, attach the clipboard. You should be able to do everything that we just spoke about, including setting up a bot to do like reprompting of files live just by clicking around this interface. Because if you can't, then that means that we've screwed up somewhere. Because really what I'm saying to you is that not only, this sounds cruel, but not only is this the interface that we give the bots, this is the interface that we give ourselves. Because from this interface alone, we are implying or suggesting that we can do any function under the sun with starting with these three tools. That's really what we're saying.
Yeah.
And so us being able to do it as humans, where you go click, type, copy, paste, type, that's really the usage that I'm after or asking for. Like, because I don't want to have to make, I mean, I can make you a dedicated workbench, sure, but I think this is enough, man. Like,
it should be. And so even if we come up with a completely new thing, hey, I need a weather app, I need a map app.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay. So
and then
and then it's the same high level.
Yeah. So what I want from you really is for you to play with this thing and then tell me what you're missing, because I think I need to add some extra widgets here, like a file browser, some other types of tools. Like if we can just make a debug workbench just to get you going on the prompting while I'm doing the coding at the same time, then that's the fastest way.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
All right.
How do I get access to this? Because this is localhost.
This one, I'll publish a version for you. I'll try to get it up tonight. But what I made for you, because I'm not a complete asshole, I made you this. And this version that I put up for you that you can reach at this URL, what you got to do is you got to click on this and you got to add yourself an API key here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And then you click on this and you add yourself a server. And I'll show you how to do that. Just so you got the reference. Add new server. It can be auto, but it is supposed to be HTTP. It should discover that automatically. You add this URL. Which I'll post to you. Do you want to try to get this set up now so you got it running?
Yeah, sure. Hold a second.
All right, let me show you the full walkthrough, and then and then maybe we'll do the setup.
Yeah.
Okay, so you you enter the URL of the MCP server, add. It's already got my credentials from that OAuth loop, so it shows up with the loaded tools. And then what you do is you say search for resources. And all that this is doing is really just this thing, but it's got a bot that does the clicking around.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I like that.
So that filling in the forms is like kind of easier for you. So you're like, okay, load it, and then it goes blah 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 blah. Okay, I got it. Okay, list it. Read both of those. Yeah, love a good parallel tool call, don't we? And then, so then it's read the resources and it's showing the scope and all that. And see, this is an example of what I want it to do. I'm like, now let's search for repos. I'm in the resources tool. What I expect it to do is unload the resources tool, go back to search for repos, find it, load it. But it probably won't happen. But that's what I want.
Yeah.
See, because right now it just sort of conks. But that's a prompting issue. Because it should know that, as you said, if it's like it doesn't have the tools it needs to do anything, it's like, I don't know about that. So I'll go unload as my default action.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back to search, right? That's this died because it didn't know what it was supposed to do. At any time, you can click on this and you can see what's loaded in this little window. So when I go unload, then when I click back in that little window, I can see that the tools have changed. That was the patch I applied. And so now it's like, now I'd be able to do this bit, search for repos. And then I can go load it. So all this is just a nicer version of this. And what I was thinking you would need is maybe like a tool on the side in where the stateboard goes that sort of has this thing there, so that it just lets you more rapidly navigate. But I kind of want to just leave that to you to come and tell me what you want, because, like, for example, there's no chat history here. Like, you get this one chat and that's it. But to be fair, that's what you get when you have a bot. Like, you don't have any record that you click this or search that or whatever. So that's the same.
Yeah. Well, straight off, having that kind of context, we don't have nested scopes.
Sorry, what's that? What's nested scopes?
As in, go into a tool and then go into another set of tools.
No, that's explicitly banned, because what would that look like?
So there's unload always gets you back to
always. Yeah. I did experiment with what you're talking about, but it quickly gets absurd. You know, like the simplest example where it falls down is if you're in a set of loaded tools, or if I sit here and I try to load the base set of tools, if I try to load the search, fetch, load tool set as the dynamic set, then what does that mean? And then do I load it some more, right? So it pretty quickly falls apart. And that's why I like the way that it's defined now, because everything alternate results in absurdities or extra code. Like this way in the back end.
Yeah, and you could get loops as well, wouldn't you? I mean, that,
yeah.
you could get lost very, very quickly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And so it's like there's an elegance about having just one tool set, and you can't have another. Like you gotta back out of it, and there's something really quite beautiful about that pattern. Like that pattern. There's so many dark places you go when you try and
right,
do this.
right, and
That's when the last weeks have gone, right? And this is what I come to you with. I'm like, this tiny little oscillating thing where you're like, search, load, use, unload, search, load.
yeah,
That
because
that thing.
there's no hunting and pecking. It's like, hey, I'm wanting to talk about repos. Boom.
Yeah,
Okay, so now all you can do is talk about repos. It's
that's
like,
right.
okay,
That's
talking
right. You
about
switch
repos.
modes. You focused
Pop up.
yourself. You're like, okay, focusing on repos. Bang.
Yeah, yeah, and there's something quite simplistic in terms of human brains. It's like my attention is on doing this. People are not very good at parallelizing themselves.
No one can parallelize. You can't. That's one of the curses of how our brains work. We can't think of two things at once simultaneously.
Yeah,
We can think of
yeah.
one thing that represents the two things merged, but it's still just one. Like, you can't be in two places at once.
So, can you demo, and it's fine if it's not all there,
Mm.
something really simple like
Sure, mate.
I want to create a file with Hello World in a repo that doesn't exist yet.
Okay, so to do that, I would go unload. So I'm back to search. Then I would go search for repos. Load that. The repo doesn't exist here, so I would say call init to make a new repo.
Yeah.
Then I would go, just imagine that worked because that bit's broken. Unload. Then I would go search for files. So I'd search for the file, the ability to read files. Okay, I've got the get files toolset. Yep. Okay, load it. Where did you get that from, motherfucker? I think you just made some shit up. Anyway, helps the demo, doesn't it? I go, okay, load it, which it didn't do. So now we're just talking bullshit. But this is this is fun. This is fun. This works. This works.
How do you know it's not loaded it?
Because there's no tool call. Because there's no. There's no right. It's like that. That's how I know that it did it. But it's like,
great. It's lying to you, man.
I've loaded the Git file. Now you have the thing. I'm like, okay, lucky we're in demo mode. So, and then I would go. You wanted to write a file that didn't exist, right?
Yeah, I would say something like write
mcmeow.txt
in brackets, text into a file in the repo that you've just created
with the content.
Yeah.
And then that would work, obviously.
You haven't actually told it where to write it to, which is fair enough. I'd say write file meow.txt with.
Oh, right. Sorry. So I would have gone. I should have gone. Right. I should have gone unload. Then I should have gone. Load repos. And then I should have navigated to it. So like change. So I'd go list repos. That would give me back the one that I just created. Then I would say change scope to that repo. So that would change the scope so that when you had, so this doesn't show resources, but over here, the scope would have updated to show that the repo had changed to be the one that I just selected, right? So that's stateful there. And then I would go unload and then load files and then do that thing with meow again. And then it would write the file.
Yep.
And that's how I've done it. And then I'd go unload, search clipboard. But see, one of the techniques I think you need to employ here is that some tools warrant being mentioned in the prompts. You know, like you could, when you're here, you could give a bit of a preamble about what do these tools do. So like in the search results, you could be like, well, the clipboard is at ID blah blah blah, and you would use the clipboard in conjunction with this tool call, so you can reference the other tools in the ecosystem to good effect. Otherwise, you're saying that, you know, like now I need to search for clipboard. Well, how did I even know that I needed a clipboard? You know, so that's a prompting thing where it needs to know about.
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from? Like it's there's and you got to be very careful about what you expect the sysprompt of the bot to be versus what you can do by just having the tool descriptions be there versus what you pass in the search results versus what extra info you attach in the tool call results, because, you know, unload can give you a new primer on clipboard usage. We can do that, and now it's in the thread, and it can't be ignored.
Yeah, the way start for 10 on that, the way I'd prompt that is to give the sysprompt an idea of basically what you're describing. You're uploading stuff into my brain by showing me this is how I would do this. And so it's like, right, okay, there's certain rules here. You know, it's only one level deep. So you're unloading to go up one level, and then loading or searching, then loading to go into a different, you know, tool set. Do something, unload. There's a thing called a clipboard. Here's where the clipboard is. If I say something like remember, or that thing I was talking about, you know, 5 minutes ago, or, you know, halfway up the thread, let's load that in again. That is the clipboard. That's promptable.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I'm pretty sure most of this is prompting from here on in, I think.
Yeah, and okay, so the way I think we should go about this, I think you're right. I think this needs like a session like this where we're both working in the same session, and I'm trying to do some really basic stuff.
Yeah, and then like it breaks, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll fix that for tomorrow, and then we'll get onto it. But all right, I think you got the gist of it, right? So this is the tool I made for you that I intend for you to drive with, because it felt like it was easier. And once you've got it down, once you've got the prompting on the tools down, you wouldn't need to baby feed it like this. You should be able to do those big bold steps.
I don't want to need to remember what a tool name is. I want to describe an action that is fulfilled by that tool.
Yeah, and then so I'll give you. Do you still need the inspector?
No, I'd rather go with
this other one here, right?
Your friend,
and then have a think about what sort of extra bits of UI you want in there, if anything. You know, like being able to see this at a side panel or something, whatever. You'd be surprised how ghetto I can whip things up for you.
This is quite exciting, man. I'm quite pumped. So what I'll do is I'll do 2 or 3 hello world examples, and it'll be something like well, at the top level, is it still the full model? So I could say who's the president of the United States.
This is whatever model you choose here. So this is like
Right.
Anthropic, right? So
So if I were to do a flow, something like who's the president of the United States, it would come back with a bunch of text and say, right, store that in a repo because I'm going to need it later.
So right, so if you go store that in a repo, you would expect it to be like, well, how should it choose the repo?
Yeah.
What file?
If you've no repos, it's like, can you tell me the name of the repo? And
yeah, right. Yeah,
president.
so that's touching on having a set of files and a knowledge base that have been built up that this particular assistant knows how to read those files to figure out what it's supposed to do. It's like instruction, a manual.
Yeah, but with a blank slate, say if I'd never talked about presidents before, if I said store that in a repo and it would look, ideally, it would look for repos. Which
I think if you said that, if you said it with no sysprompt and no knowledge base, then it should be able to, just from the tool descriptions, have enough information that it's like, okay, hey, can you tell me what name you want the repo to be in and what the file is in, and then I'll do it, right?
Yeah. And I saw further up, it did something like that. It's saying, when it said previously, create a repo, and it said name is required.
Yeah. So that's this stuff, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was
and
like,
I don't really care what the repo is.
Yeah, you can't fault it for that though. Yeah, you can't be faulted for that, I think.
Here's Marla.
Hello, I'm so sorry. My phone calls have not stopped all morning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. We're getting to a good point for you to come in, so good timing.
Mm-hmm. Good. How are you, Tom?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Would it be okay if I just had 5 more? You're most welcome to stick around. If I could just get 5 more minutes, I need one more topic to go through.
I will be delighted with that. Yes, no problem at all.
Okay, thank you. So the last tool that I want to give you, so these tools you should be fine with. I'll give you the MCP tool that lets you actually do a chat, so you'll be able to load a chat tool which will be able to call other bots and modify the file system with it. So in here, then you would be like, okay, call the chat bot with this new information, and that, if the tool prompting's done right, it should figure that out.
Yep.
But then that's the tool. That should be enough tools for you to make a self-improving loop there, because it should be able to just go, hey, I've rewritten the sysprompt, I've rerun the bot, okay, that didn't work, new sysprompt, okay, worse, better, whatever. That's really what I'm looking for.
Where's the sysprompt stored? Is it
for this agent, it's not there. This is a deprompted bot, and I don't think you should be prompting this bot, because this is your driver. This is like your steering wheel. But when you make a bot, you can sysprompt the bot on the file system, and then you can modify that sysprompt on the file system and then run it using MCP calls with the modified sysprompt.
Gotcha. So
and that's the improvement.
If I create a weather bot, that is effectively creating a repo.
Yep.
And that repo has
or just a folder, and you call up the chats MCP, the chats MCAP, and say to it, I need to make a new bot, and here are some of the characteristics, and it'll give you a starter for 10 system prompt.
Right. So one of the maybe four deep in this checking process. Word one is, hey, I now at the top level, I need to make a new bot, and they go, required system prompts.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing I want to get into your brain before we have a chat to Marla is that all of this text here that comes up from the tools, this is seen by the bots, and I wrote this. So what I want to offer you as a tool is I can make you an MCP tool that can write in a way that will modify this text for you. So this comes hard-coded with the code base. There's no helping that. But what I
Yep.
can give you is a tool that lets you override it for your sessions, so that when you come in as you, it's running with modified versions of the tool prompting. And that's
what it look for is like is there a specific system prompt, and if there is, I'm going to dump the one that's an artifact.
no,
Okay,
it'd just be
replacing
you would set it. So just to be real simple, you would have, see this tool ID artifact /MCP / resources.
Yep.
You would use this tool call to say override tool prompt, tool ID, tool set ID, blah blah blah, tool name, repos, enter your new text.
Right.
Right.
So and I could use a bot to do that.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So
And then because what I'll do is every time your user account calls that function, it will use the modified version of the tool prompt, because
nice.
my conviction is that most of this work can be done or must be done through changing the tool prompting, because you don't want to have to rely on someone getting the sys prompting right. If we can demonstrate that with the tool prompting done correctly, we can load up a deprompted bot or various forms of sys prompted bots, and they all behave with the same overall outcome, which is that they can use the dynamic tool set effectively without any major obvious errors. That means that the tool prompting is done right.
I wonder, and we can check this. I wonder if instead of overwriting it, there always is a very minimalist base prompt, and the alteration to the sys prompt is an addition, as opposed to overwriting.
Well, you wouldn't in this tool I'm proposing to give you, which from your reaction it sounds like you want it or you need it even.
Yeah.
You would override it on a tool by tool basis, and you could reset it if you wanted. And what'll happen there is you'll make edits, and you'll find some that you like, and then you'll come and tell me, and I'll put them into the main code base.
I see, and then we'll burn that in.
Yeah, and we'll burn it in, and we'll just keep it, and then we'll eventually reach stability, and then that's good enough.
Right. Good.
Okay,
Nice.
That was all I had to say.
Okay, cool.
Can I say something on that?
Sure.
You need a tool prompt.
That's
As
the
a
whole...
user, I as a user, if there is a prompt that's written in for something that you're going to do time and time again, writing in sys prompts is just a pain in the neck.
Yes, I refer to our last hour and a half. You can watch
Sorry.
the video.
I don't know anything about what you've talked about, but this is someone who's not skilled in the art saying that sounded like a fabulous idea.
Yeah. And tool discovery, we've gone through context switch. So one of the fundamental things we've just been hammering at and agree on is we're keeping it simple in that you can pop down to a tool, and inside that tool you can only use those things that are applicable, and then you pop back up one level, and then you pop down to another one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
pop
should
back
just show Marla what we were at.
Actually, that'll be interesting. Actually.
So this is the what we think is the long-term architecture of being able to have any bot be able to call on any application to run it, and it consists of it just having these simple search, load, and fetch, where fetch is just like more details on the search result. And when you load it, this was the whole trick that I was just going over with Mr. Maxwell here, is that when you load a tool, all the tools change.
Okay.
And when I write programs, or when anyone else writes programs, or whenever we do system integrations, you're just loading the tools that are applicable to that system, and then you unload them, and then you're back to your base 3 functions. And so you could have an integration with an accounting system, one with an email system, one with like a sprinkler system, and another one with an alarm system. and all you do is the bot itself would search for the sprinkler system, and it would load the tools for the sprinkler system. It would interact with the sprinkler system. It'd switch to. Is that sort of making?
It's like making ingredients. No, it makes absolute sense. I'm going to put it in a different way. It's like making a curry. You know what a delicious curry tastes like, but you can go, oh, it needs a bit of nutmeg, or it needs a bit of this, and it needs a bit of that spice, and it needs salt, and it needs that for the base.
Yeah.
And then you add the chicken, the vegetables, the beef, the fish, whatever you like. But your base is, okay, we need this chicken. So we've got the base of like onions, tomatoes, ginger, garlic. But hey, we need this spice, we need that spice, we need this to make it taste better.
Yeah. I can extend that analogy by saying when we're talking about loading up tools, it'd be like now I need to go to the freezer to get the chicken. Now I need to go to the fridge to get the whatever. Now
and then while you're at the freezer, you're like, oh, the fan is making a noise, so I'll load up the serviceman tool, lodge a complaint or a job with the serviceman. I'm still making curry, like I haven't forgot about it, and then I unload that tool and get back to what I was doing in service of the curry.
Yeah, it's probably worth going through clipboard as well. Tom.
Yeah, so that one of the key additions. So this is that system working. I'll just unload all the tools here. This is that system working inside of a bot. So when I go unload, it will call the tools. What you okay? Why don't you go to hell?
It's lost it because I was asking it awkward questions.
You that's you, buddy. So if I go search for resources tooling, it knows to make the tool call to call the search thing, and it comes back and it's like, hey, I found this tool. Then I go, okay, load it, and then it loads the tool, and now I can go call the list thing, and it calls the list thing, and then I say read.
You literally called it the listing.
Read
natural
language, baby. And then it did these parallel calls, and then it read this data, and that could have been reading an email, or triggering off an alarm, or making machinery do stuff, whatever.
Anything the internet can do.
But that's roaming. It's crawling. It's able to dynamically select tools, switch in and out, move around, because the issue is
the tools are at your access.
Yeah,
but it's like
you browse for them.
Opening a toolbox and saying, "Oh, okay,
you
I
browse
need
for
this
them.
tool for this thing." Yeah,
You,
but it's an easy browse, isn't it? It's like,
well, the bot's doing the browsing. It's browsing on your behalf, and then it's finding the most relevant tool, and then loading it up and doing the thing. Because the issue is like keeping the number of tools small. If the number of tools gets big, the bot loses its brain. And so, you can't just give it all the tools in the world.
But that's quite good. But that's what happens.
Okay,
so
I know.
we're in real life, because when a real life example, actually, yesterday I spent a whole day with this one company that we're trying to do a turnaround with. And I started off with a meeting with people on the same level. Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So basically we had a meeting at the high level, and we talked about what we needed to talk about to the next level. And that got a bit more serious in terms of the number of things that we were so our area, it's like an org chart. So at the top was me. There was 2 people underneath me who were talking to their team of 3, who then run 11 branches. Yeah. And each one of those was we were getting more and more complex in what we were telling them to do, in terms of we were getting down to the finer detail. We started off with strategy and it got to finer detail.
Hey, we
Now,
are
that is
recording.
what
We are
happens.
recording on this call. I just hope that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, but that's just like a general thing, isn't it? It doesn't matter what business I go into.
Scoping.
That's what you do.
Scoping. Yeah.
So so what I'm saying is that that's what we do in real life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We have a strategy at the top, and we know that there's 3 or 4 big areas we want to look at, and then we look at the tool, and then we go, actually, I want to look more down that path, and that path gets bigger and bigger, and just becomes a bit like an org chart or a mind map, or whatever you like to say. You're starting from one central point and just, little channels going out all in different directions. Depends on how deep you want to go into each bit.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, drillable.
Yeah, and the important thing about the clipboard is the results of asking one person to do one thing, and in parallel asking another person to do another thing. You want to bring back both those things and do something with that output. So
so you can roam around with these tools, and then you can put bits on your clipboard to then later use in some way where that arbitrary collection of things matters. You could have picked it from many different levels, but you've got some purpose for joining those things together, and then you can chat about that collection.
Right.
Yeah. Going back to yesterday, asking the HR guys to make sure that their employee contracts are absolutely wired down. She's talking to lawyers, she's taking concerns and putting them in, and we're getting new employee contracts out, which is something that happens every year in a business here. And then talking to the ops guy, saying, okay, well, you need to do this because new contracts are coming out. So what needs to be in place before the new contracts come out? And then talking to the admin people, going, we all need to get together at the end, but this needs to be in place before I bring them all together.
Exactly, and it's that bringing that all together thing is the really powerful piece.
Yeah.
Because by constraining the tool calls, we increase the ability of the bots to get a perfect answer. Because I've talked about this a lot, as I know you know.
Yeah.
If you constrain bots, they get really good. And so constraining the tools is like, this is all you can do. And if you can't do that, then you unload, go up one level. And it's like, nope, can't do that.
The thing is, will the tool say, I can't do this?
Well, this is
you may need to look for the other tools.
This is some of the prompting that's going to need to be done, because the tools are self-aware of what they can do.
But are they aware of what other tools can do? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the top level is aware of what can be done.
But say you're in a tool, yeah? And like I said, we're talking like real life. I say to the HR person, I actually need the drive organized and fit for purpose with the right permissions by the time you get to this, and then make sure you get it done, and go, no, I don't know how to do that. You're going to have to talk to the admin department, IT department about that. Can it do that?
Yes, I think in this architecture it can.
That is actually dependent on this benchmark, which is called function missing detection. So the ability of an AI system to recognize that it does not have what it needs to do the job is a very nascent area. Yeah. It's not like, we are very early to this space. Like, I had to today make a patch to Anthropic, the guys that made Claude, multi-billion-dollar company, right? But what this dynamic tool thing is pretty new, and that's why the infrastructure is not there to support it. The bots need to be trained on the techniques that the tool calling does. They are not good at just picking up any old random pattern and just being good at it. They're better, but this benchmark is the one for us. Like, this benchmark doesn't really score that great now because it's not well defined, but function missing detection and irrelevance detection. These things are the ones that we have to watch. This is not in our control, but our gamble is that the industry will shift towards strengthening that benchmark as the pattern of
They'll
dynamic
get better at
tooling.
it, like they've got.
Yeah, because we're gambling here. We're gambling that dynamic tool calling, as we just described, is the future that the industry will shift towards. And so we better be right about that.
Well, that would make them really super smart people. And what I mean is it's still a machine at the moment. And you can tell when you use ChatGPT, you use any of it, it's very smart, but it's still a machine in the way it thinks. But to actually say, it will say I can't do it, but it won't say that's not my role. You perhaps need to find someone else to fill this role. And having those roles available.
We could probably prompt the bots to do that in a way that you found acceptable.
Yeah, Marley, remember, going back a long while now, one of the things that been striving for is to get the bot to say, I don't know.
Yes. I remember.
Yeah, the latest GPT-5 is very good at saying I don't know. I can't remember the exact name of the benchmark for it, but it's like a refusal benchmark. But the latest GPT-5 is actually excellent at that.
But is it also excellent to say, try this or try that?
Yeah. I don't know, but I know about it might.
Yeah. So I'm probably.
Oh, you've gone quite faint. You've gone quite faint there.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I said it's probably me teaching you to suck eggs, and I don't mean to.
No, it's quite important, actually.
Because I'm coming at it from somebody who just wants to don't want to create it. I'm in awe of you guys doing it, but I want to use it, and I want to use it like I'd use a super, super smart assistant. And, an organization, actually more than an assistant, how I would like to run an organization, if you like. So I'm sitting at the top and I want my organization running super, super well. How do I do that? What do I need in place to do that? And what are the little details that as you go down each channel, what needs to get more and more finely tuned? So I know with me, I'm really great at strategy. I'm not so great with detail. So I surround myself with detail people because detail is important. I'm very good at reading through detail. Luckily for me, I now have AI that does a lot of the stuff that I used to hate, the detail bits for me. And I'm very good at editing it and going, no, that's rubbish, that's not right. No, you've got this wrong. Whereas it was hard to find that in people, let's be honest. If you found your team, you just hung on to them, as I have over the years, because they're good at that.
Yeah, you used to. That was kind of the only way before.
Yes, and but I know how to build organizations, and doing this thing over the last 2 weeks, I realized that I kind of can see where we need to go. And I need these people at the end of it who are doing exactly this. Now, if an AI can work in that way and go, okay, go up a level. So I've had a discussion this morning about like chain of command, how employees should not be skipping chain of commands. Mm-hmm. So you have a problem, you go up a chain of command. And if they still can't solve it, you can only skip the chain of command if you've had no joy from the chain of command immediately above you. But that's where it should stop, because if you've gone up one chain of command, that person should be either sorting it out or taking it up themselves in a very and we're talking about people here. They all have emotions, they all have their own little neuroses, they all have things that they feel, which is not something a bot will do. So a bot can be very objective about it and go, I need to discuss this further. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking about a really, really, really ideal situation, but I'm talking about what I think organizations would love to have, and people
Yeah, like
who
it should
run
be.
organizations would love it.
It should do the chain of command where you put the whatever you're saying into the bot, and the bot runs it up appropriately, and it won't stop until it knows it got the appropriate attention for it based on its merit and how it fits into the long-term goals.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So
Is
this
this
is a
any use to you guys?
what's that?
Yeah.
I said, is this any use to you guys? Or am I just having a little bit of a rant session here?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely of use because we're in a bit of a bubble here, and there's always a danger in a bubble that we start to, shine the wrong thing.
Yeah, so this benchmark here probably gives you the best answer for will it say I don't know, because this is just pure hallucination rate. So here with the
Okay.
latest model, so if the hallucination rate on the previous generation was 5.7%, that means that roughly
Yeah, it's gone
speaking,
down.
5% of the time it would make up an answer. But I don't know if it's at 0.7 to 1%. Like most of the time it's going to be right about saying it doesn't know.
And Marla,
Well, it's probably hallucinating less than the actual humans.
Oh, that's the thing, right? And because it can repeat and come at it from many angles, so you can actually apply techniques to end up with your errors being 1% of 1%, because you ran two different agents coming at it from the positive angle, and the other is looking for negations. So there's ways to make highly reliable systems just with the tooling that we have available now, I think.
yeah,
And there's no feelings involved.
that's the approach to the translation, guys.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
the same. But the interesting enough, and I'll go over it later on this afternoon with you, Marla. It's a very interesting conversation with Craig and Johnny yesterday.
Right.
Johnny being someone who's smart and very much early adopter, so on. But he was still in, AI is nascent because it still hallucinates. It really doesn't. And also when you add in architecture, you're getting 5 nines if you have.
So did you manage to turn him around then?
I think so. It's not my job to turn them around. I've given them a bunch of information, and there's nothing immediate to do there. They're very old mates, and so it was worth spending an afternoon with them. But I wait with interest to see whether he gets it. In the room, I saw a coin drop moment where he went, architecture, tier 2, yeah. That makes sense.
Well, that's good. I just think that where we've gone and like watching, doing what I do with Dreamcatcher, which is not a lot. I'm not using it fully, mainly because I'm hardly been in front of my computer for the last week or so, apart from doing strategy stuff. I haven't really used it, but for the strategy piece I'm doing, I love the fact that I can load up the documents related to what I'm doing and just call on them. Just go up and say, okay, this is in your knowledge base. Can you use it? Without having to load it up every time. I think that's been the thing that I've loved the most about it.
Right.
Having that knowledge base already there, not having to go, okay, you've forgotten what I said earlier.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
like
to
long lived. It's long-lived memory.
Yeah. And so I'll just say, look in your knowledge base for this, so I'll go to the knowledge base and just click on it rather than, okay, I've got to go back and add it in, but because it's in its knowledge base. And I'm using the correct, what I found was that I, like an org chart, you put HR files in the HR folder. It's just become like a great filing system. I'm not putting anything into a knowledge base for one of my assistants, which is not required. I remove it from that, but I'll go to the other system and it's in its knowledge base. I think that's brilliant. That's been really brilliant.
Cool.
Cool.
It's going to get better.
Yeah, no. That's been really, really good. It's been wonderful, and in fact, with the company I'm working with, trying to create their drives for them, so everybody has different permissions. And I just keep thinking, once we get this sorted, we just have to load Dreamcatcher and say, okay, they have this in their knowledge base and these people have access to that, but they can't see this. And we can put those, use it a bit like a drive. It'd be absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, or even allowing people that don't have permissions to information to, under the right circumstances, gain the knowledge of it, because the bots would need to be almost treated like a meaning firewall, where
Yes,
they know what's sort of the knowledge that they're not supposed to share, so they know what's sensitive, but that doesn't mean that therefore it's not helpful to someone else who doesn't have permission to know some of the other details that were in there. And so you can allow the bots to, without disclosing the information directly, refer to help the person out with what they need to know, rather than getting tangled up with permissions, which is a typical inefficiency that we see a lot of, I think.
yeah, but I think that's wonderful, because if you could just have an AI system where you go in and you do your work, you have the right assistant to help you do the tasks that you do, because the lower down in organization you go, the more it's about data inputting and less about real thinking.
So you're thinking that
it's how it's input.
So you're thinking that if we provided you a system where, instead of, typically you turn up and on your first day you get provisioned your computer and it's got the apps that are suitable for your role, instead of apps you would be provisioned different bots or different agents that you could talk to depending on your role. Everyone would get, for example, the HR agent that you can talk about anything in confidence with or whatever. But then there's like other agents that are tuned for your role. Like it could be a geotechnical role, someone else, it could be an accounting bot, and they have access to the drive or the data. And so,
and you're not hassling someone on, how do I do this?
No, because the help is in band, because you can talk to the bot. You're like, how do I do this? How do I do that? I used to do this. And they're like, well, here's some example, blah, 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 blah. Terry over in accounts likes to do it this way. All those kinds of things, right?
Yes. It'd be just wonderful, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Because half the time when you're new, you don't want to look stupid.
So what would we call that? No, right? And then you don't even know what you don't know, and then you're like, "Fuck, am I like overdressed, underdressed? Should I shut up? Should I ask a question? Well, holy crumbs, what am I doing?"
Will they think I'm thick if I ask this question? Is it a stupid question?
Yeah.
Or will they just think I'm too keen? Or will they think I'm too smart? There's no right when you just start.
No,
everything's like it may be wrong.
Yeah. So what would you call such a system?
I don't know.
So it's a package. So it's like a base platform, and then there's these apps that have either come from external sources because they're good, or they were developed in house, custom, based on the purpose. There's some there's a drive with different folders and files in it, and then there's a set of like tools or traditional applications that can call out to servers that can process binary data like image manipulation or spreadsheets or whatever you want. And then like what is that? What did you just sell someone when you sold them that?
So look, I'm going to go back to the real life example I'm living now is as a store. So you have real life customers who come in to buy stuff.
Yeah.
They're coming in to buy something. The EPOS system is very, very complicated. In fact, it's overly complicated. And so getting them to learn on the EPOS system is really, really difficult for people, especially since they also have things like scanning in invoices and getting data from the invoices. Now, that as a function should be dead easy, as Malcolm has already shown, is that you scan an invoice and you get the actual data on the other side, so the invoice is done. Yeah, it's done. But where that invoice goes, they should not have to then send it. Do you know what I mean? It just goes. All you have to do is scan it. It's going to go the pathway for where it's supposed to reach, and the person it's supposed to reach is already done. You don't have to do anything more. There's a lot of little niggly things that happen when you first start at any premises. It's okay, learning the EPOS system. It should be kind of easy. Why is it that when we scan something, that isn't automatically put in? I know that okay, I run a retail store. Every packet of Heinz baked beans has the same barcode. Doesn't matter where in the world you are, it has the same barcode. It just is. Heinz baked beans, 300 milliliters. That's a barcode. Virtually everything we buy, unless it is a single apple, a single pear, whatever it is, has a barcode. And if we can just go, listen, you just have to pick this up and scan the barcode and I'll do the rest for you. That is, it will have matched the invoice to what you're selling it for, and that stuff's gone. You don't have to write any reports. If we took that away from people starting and all they had to do was do the barcode bit, and then they moved on to the next bit, and then they moved on to the next bit, that would change the way life is. I know we have self-scanners, but there's a lot of places which don't. But that bit, and how you want to serve, and how we plan a shop, and pull up your planogram. This is the stuff you've got. What's the best way to display that? All that kind of thing. Those are all tools which are available. But if you could look at where you are and go, hi, I'll show you around, meet everybody else here. These are your tools, and this is your job for today. And this is your assistant. And you get given like an iPad or something, and I would like you to stock the shelf. Use the shelf stocker thing. It'll show you what the best way to do it. If you think you can do it better, talk to it and say, well, what if we do that? But, have the interaction with it. But there it is. It just is smoothing out the pathway for jobs from a base level right up to someone who is a CEO.
Right, so even at that stores, the shelf stocking level, you're saying that if you could give them an assistant that they could talk to, like they just wore it in their ear and they push the button, they're like, how come this shelf is this, or why is this thing like this? Then what you've saved is you didn't get downtime from another staff member who had to stop the productive work they were doing to answer some questions or show them to a location or something like that. So you've already sort of halved the loss, I guess, of onboarding
of time
in that sense. But second of all, like even an experienced staff member doesn't know everything, because there is a surprising amount of information within a retail store and how to run it. And so if you had an assistant in your ear that you could just chat to and help you out, that would save you an immense amount of time, and you wouldn't have to be that smart. Confusion, but it could also be live, right? Like you're like, hey, where's so-and-so right now? And they're like, aisle 7, cleaning up a spill.
Yes.
Or something like that. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, who else can I talk to about this other issue that's come up? And it's like, well, this guy, why don't I take care of it for you? I'll sort it out from here. You just get back to work, I guess. Like it's sort of like a lot of the ferreting around that people do to try and find someone to talk to is because they're trying to offload the issue. But really, everyone should offload the issue to the same place. If it needs something more from you, it'll tell you or get back to you. But basically, tell this one thing, you're done. Don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah, and the other thing is just the simple things like in storefronts or stocking shelves is You ask one member of staff how to do it, they'll tell you to do it one way. You ask another member
Yeah.
of staff, they'll tell you to do it a
Yeah.
different way. So it also for the organization provides some level of, yes, creativity, but uniformity. It's like,
Uniformity,
okay,
standardization.
you can
Yeah,
yeah,
and also justification as well, because it's like the bots could
yes,
start to look at, well, we've got these multiple ways that people do things, but this one's based on these reasons and these research, and it can actually, like, you'd be surprised how pretty quickly you can hit PhD level material, like even as simple as like, how do we lay out the shelves? It's like, do we want people to
yes.
walk this way or that way? Like that's actually a really hard, that's a very complex subject, and so having a PhD level AI to guide you in that is probably, probably a
And
good thing.
I've been thinking of this all week, going, okay, they could really use a bot for that. They could use a bot so we can get over the emotions and we can get the work done. Can we get over your
So
egos? Can we get over,
at what point,
yeah,
Marla, does that bot that is allowing these staff members to, first of all, be super efficient or hit what is the ultimate limit of efficiency within a store, because you can actually say what 100% efficient looks like and then measure yourself
yeah.
against that. And so at some point, when does it'll bleed over to, okay, now we can help the customers more effectively because the customer asks a question and we just go to the bot. But then at what point does the customer just interact with the bot system directly?
Um, Look, I think that will come anyway. But one of the things that I think people need still is a person to talk to. But yesterday we were talking to a hypothetical situation, which is, and it's a pharmacy we're talking about. Okay, so just a pharmacy, and we were laughing about it because people were going, "Oh well, that'd be really interesting." And I said, "It's coming," because what happens is pharmacists are asked a lot. They've become mini doctors in this country. I don't know what it's like in New Zealand.
Same thing.
Here, they're the same thing. Many doctors, they are paid for more for consulting than selling drugs, and they all have consulting rooms which they're supposed to be in all the time. But sometimes, people will just come and go round about stuff and go, oh, yeah, it's kind of like this, kind of like that. So let's, for example, say they've got something wrong with one of this, it's they've got a sexually transmitted disease, they think, or something like that, and they don't want to talk about it in front of everybody, do they?
No.
And when you're standing at a counter, there's the people there. So we wouldn't, kind of joking, but seriously joking, if you know what I mean, about the fact that you can now find sound booths in all the in all the private membership clubs for people to have their video calls in. I said, well, what if you could just walk into a sound booth and talk to AI, and the AI could directly or indirectly, directly either provide their own answer, or indirectly, because you still need a person involved, just talk to the pharmacist in the dispensary and say, hello, I've got this problem, but I don't want to be face to face and I don't want to be out there, and have a chat with the pharmacist, and the pharmacist just comes out and gives them the medication.
Yeah.
There's no conversation in public. There's nothing happening in public. They've just gone in, they've had their little word, and they've got it. And I was actually saying to them that you seriously should get this, because you'll have lines outside your door. That'll be a real USP, because people really hate going talking about their health problems when there's other customers there. You'll find people generally waiting on one side for hours until the store is clear.
Yeah, I know. Or like if they're fucking sick, and you're like, I don't want to stand here with some sick. Like, you're in a chemist because there's something wrong with you. I don't want to stand around with you.
Yeah. So we talked about this, and that is a real life thing that could be done. Because you still need people. You still need a pharmacist. It's one of those things. Medical convention will never at least for the foreseeable future, allow anybody but a human to make a decision, because
But what do you
they.
what do you call that product that we would
I
sell
don't
then?
know.
Because it feels like it's the same as what we just spoke about for the person stocking the shelves as it is for the
It
CEO
is,
person,
but
right? It's the
I
same
just
thing,
don't
right?
know. Yeah, it is
Well,
absolutely.
what does it
And I
do?
think
It kind of it's basically intelligence at all levels,
yeah,
and
I
it allows like a platform like ability to put apps on it that are custom or fit for purpose, like a bot or an application that's custom gets deployed on this standard framework.
yeah, but I don't know what to call it. I'll think about it. I don't know what to
But
call
that's
it. But it's
productizable, right? Like that's a product.
yeah,
That's a thing
that's
that
a
you're like,
product.
I'll take 3 of those, and you're like, yeah, there you go. That's going to cost you X.
Your personal pharmacy sound booth. It's a private booth. Talk to your pharmacist in private. Can you imagine how that would help?
But why not just
I
give them
mean,
an app on their phone and they can sit at home or sit
you
on the
need. Oh,
toilet?
no, you don't want that.
Why
And I'll
not?
tell you why. You you want them coming in because nobody goes into a pharmacist or a store and comes out just with their medicine ever. They come up with something from the shelf. It is retail. You need them in.
Okay,
And
sure.
sometimes the pharmacist would actually like to see it in real life. So yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
can see a
need.
video.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be seen. Okay.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
me
guys.
too.
Yeah, yeah. But that's been
That's a
I
product,
was
though,
about
hey?
to
Like
suggest
that's a thing.
it is. I was about to suggest the name Mother for the product.
Mother.
After the computer in Alien.
So you want to go around selling your mother?
Mother.
It's like, what to do about this, Mum?
It's like, Mum, I've got an STD.
Yeah, tell your
Help!
mother.
Like, that's just
Yeah, go speak to mother.
yeah.
Nurse, not mother. You don't mind
Nurse.
talking to a nurse, but go talk to the nurse.
I'll tell you what, it would boost Viagra sales no end if you had that. Exactly.
would.
Just talk to a bot and go through whatever it is, the checklist, and it's like, yep, that's all fine, and you just get a brown paper bag and off you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Pharmacies are interesting because there's a lot of stuff there that is quite sensitive, and
Yeah.
standing in line is not the way to do it.
Unsensitive.
No,
Yeah.
it is, and we're just saying, okay, look, there is a real person on the other end, but you've got this private thing. The bot can help for the initial. Okay, we think it's this. You need to speak to the pharmacist. Or,
Yeah.
have you tried this? Perhaps it's not so serious. And we can get a pharmacy assistant out to you or a dispenser
Yeah,
out
yeah.
to you. So you can do the different levels rather than
Triage.
do the triage. Nurse triage. There's a name.
Stats.
Triage. Yeah. All right.
Right,
Well, I'll
anyway.
let you go. Malcolm, just very quickly after this, just a very quick 5-minute call if you have the time.
Yes.
All right, I'll drop off. I'll see you guys later. This could be your 5-minute call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great
No,
to
it's
see you
all-
again.
Is it recorded? Is it
Yep.
recorded?
Yep.
Okay, if you turn off the recording, then
Okay.
we'll
It turns off when I leave. Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Oh, fabulous. Bye. Bye.
Hey, everyone's happy that I'm going.
Hey.